Hi everyone, and thank you for joining the Glint webinar. It's the first webinar we've actually done, so sorry we're a little bit late, but I think considering everything, we've done quite well to get up and running today. We're going to actually make a bit of a habit of this, so we're probably going to be doing more webinars. I'd like to eventually be able to have one every couple of weeks, so we'll definitely do a better job than we did last year with that. Anyway, I'm very excited today because we've got a whole host of things to show you. First of all, really pleased and really privileged to have Charlie Morris joining us to talk about the gold premium. Charlie, I've known Charlie for quite a while now. He is the Chief Information Officer and founder of ByteTree. Charlie's just joined us. Hi, Charlie.
Hello.
And after Charlie speaks, I'm going to be taking you through the vision of the new Glint app. We've got a new Glint app start launching in Q1 of next year, and our ideas about what we're going to do with that app, how we're going to make it go from a back of wallet to a front of wallet application, why we're doing it, and all the exciting things we're going to be able to do with the new platform. And actually, Yax, our product manager, is going to come on actually give you a demo of our alpha of our new app, and I'm going to encourage you a couple of times to participate in a couple of polls. So the first poll, I think, is going to be out of all the features that we're talking about, which top 3 would you prefer us to focus on? Can't promise we will, because there are other agendas at play, but please do participate in that. It's very important we get user feedback. And the second thing, the second poll near the end, will be asking you, those of you who'd want to participate in our beta program, probably in January. I think Yax will tell you a bit more about that. Which of you would like to participate in that, be the first to actually get hold of that app and give us the kind of interesting feedback that you want to give us. So without any more delay, Charlie, thank you for coming and joining us on our first webinar, and I'm glad you made it with all the train disruptions. Yeah, over to you, really.
What, talk about gold?
That would be helpful, yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, for everybody to, Charlie, how long have you been doing the gold report now, the Atlas Pulse Gold?
I'm just about to go, well, my 11th year now, but I've been following the gold market since the late 1990s. And it was funny, the late 1990s, because gold really wasn't on the scene at all. And it obviously had been in the 1970s, but it peaked in the end of the 1970s and then spent two decades going out of favor. And those were the 2 sort of glory decades for the fiat system. Everything worked, stock markets went up, bonds had great returns, inflation was low. And then after 2000, things started to go in reverse. I mean, we did have some bubbles that came and went, but really the credibility of the system never really kept up with what it managed to achieve in the late 20th century. And so, the beginning of the end of the credibility was, first it was lower rates, then it was QE, and now it's just a mess. And, every time you get a democratic government, you give them an election, they vote for more spending. It's totally unsustainable, the whole path that society's on. And, the answer is that gold in the long term can only go up. And the question is what it does in the short and the medium term. In the medium term, I think it's pretty bullish. There are downward pressures this year because interest rates, higher interest rates, aren't good for gold. Inflation has been high, which is good for gold, but that's been falling. We can see that in the expectations. The price of oil's coming down, the price of other commodities is coming down. But that's probably temporary. That's probably a sort of economic slowdown, Chinese COVID restrictions, that kind of thing. Open up China, let the world finish its recession, and then, hey presto, we're going to have even more demand for commodities than we did 2 or 3 years ago. And so, long term, you think, or sorry, medium term, you'd think inflation higher. But in the short term, with the Fed fiddling around with interest rates, taking them to levels that the economy can't sustain, that could put short-term pressure on the gold price. But I think it's probably looking through that. It's probably thinking, you can't get away with this for long.
And the Atlas Pulse Gold Report isn't just kind of your opinions on the gold market from a kind of observational perspective, i.e. from a high-level narrative. You've actually developed a methodology behind the report and developed a compass, haven't you?
Yeah, there are 2 things I do for gold. There's lots of things I do for gold, but 2 main things. One's a regime model, and that tells you whether gold's in a bull market or a bear market or somewhere in between. And basically 40% of history Gold's in a bear, 40% in a bull, and 20 in neutral. We're currently in a bull and have been since 2018. And I think that continues. I've got no problem with that, but you can still have short-term corrections within a bull market and that sort of thing. And that really looks at the is gold doing well in lots of currencies, not just in dollars? Does gold, what's the real interest rate backdrop? So, basically, if interest rates are 5% and inflation's 2%, you're getting a 3% real interest rate. And actually, the bank account's quite attractive at that point, unless interest is taxed at 100%. But assuming interest is not fully taxed, then to actually make a real return in a bank account is a good idea. But when it's in reverse, if you've got inflation at 5% and interest rates at 2%, then you're losing money in your bank account. And that's where gold kicks in. And the gold price behaves around that kind of framework. So I study that. And the final thing is I look at how gold's doing as an asset class. I see how it's doing against the stock market and things like that. And so basically, if it's outperforming, then more and more people want to buy it. And so that pushes the price higher. Then we look at other things outside, like the central bank buying. I mean, the last quarter, we saw the biggest buying ever in history of gold by central banks, 399 tons from Qatar, Turkey, Uzbekistan. I mean, staggering amounts. I mean, we know why Qatar's rich, because they're hosting the World Cup. Or is it because of gas? I can't remember which. And then we know why Turkey's rich. Well, they're not rich, but they've got a currency that's gone down 25% and in an inflationary environment, 85%. So that temporary 60% is kind of fake gain, which they're shoving in the gold market. And then you've got Uzbekistan, who I guess mine this, that, and the other. And so you've got all these people with all these money, and they're just piling into gold. Now, in the good old days, Jason, they would have bought US treasuries. But why they don't do that anymore? Because they get confiscated. They're now a weapon. So Russia's proved that if you're a country outside the sort of NATO sphere, then US treasuries are no longer a good idea for you.
Yeah. And I think I've got a number of things that I think about when I think about gold. One is the fact that its nature can't be changed. And so we have this, effectively the price of gold going up or down as people's confidence in various currencies are going up and down, and generally down. And of course, what you're saying then is, I suppose, is that the US dollar, the confidence in the US dollar globally has been damaged to some degree.
Yeah, if you think of it as a network effect situation, the network just shrank.
Yeah.
So, if you think about 7 billion potential customers, every time they do something, every time they politicize the dollar, then you're knocking off potential people who engage with the dollar.
And so, the world's definitely changed, hasn't it, in a number of different ways. We're maybe more likely to have pandemics because we're closer to animals, and the animals are getting, smaller and smaller in terms of their environments. They're coming in contact with us more. We're in a situation we might be lab released pandemics by, when things get out by mistake. We might have situations where we're in a post-antibiotic age. We've got we're at war, and would you say that there's a paradigm shift that we're going through at the moment? Is this a significant change? Because a lot of people have been talking about the demise of the dollar for a long time. Do you think this is a blip? Do you think that confidence is going to come back? How do you see it from an analytical perspective?
When you talk about demise of the dollar, do we really mean the demise of the West, or do we mean the demise of the dollar? And then when we mean that, do we mean the influence, or do we mean the technical monetary inflation, which reduces the purchasing power? I mean, we probably mean a bit of all of the above, don't we, really? And and so the West, quite rightly, is becoming less wealthy compared to the rest of the world. After all, it's 20% of the population, 20% of the landmass, compared to the emerging world, which is 80% of the population, 80% of the landmass. It's only fair that things should level up a little bit along the way. And so I don't think that anyone's against that mega trend, which we can't stop anyway. And so part of that is that all things associated with that are on the way down. So developed market currencies, I think, it's not to say that emerging market currencies have become better than developed. I'm not making that point at all, but I just think that generally speaking, the credibility of monetary stores of value in the fiat system are just going to go down. And it's just at all levels, more people with more wealth from all around the world will turn to gold, and you just got that long-term bid you didn't have before. But Jason, that's not to say you can't have problems in the short term. And I believe that actually in 2022, bonds have sold off so much that you can make a short-term case that bonds are better than gold in the short term. But I don't stand that by the medium term or the long term. That's just a pricing thing. Basically, bonds collapsed this year and gold didn't.
Sure. And by the way, audience out there, our wonderful audience, if you have any questions to ask, then I think there should be an opportunity for you to be able to ask those. Again, first time I've done a webinar, so I'm not sure it's in the chat or whether there's a section for.
You can write, Jason. You can write a Q&A at the bottom. There's a raise hand. There's a Q&A thing.
Yeah, please go into the Q&A and write any questions out there. If you want them answering, we'll answer. Charlie, are you able to stick around for a bit?
I am. If you get my dog in from the cold, he's looking at me through the window.
I mean, Charlie,
it's 3 degrees out there. I can't.
Charlie, can you just tell everybody a little bit about yourself, because you've got a phenomenal background. You know, but you know, could you just tell everybody about your career?
Yeah, so I was at school with Jason back in the 1980s in North Yorkshire, and then basically the city for most of all, bit of time in the military, but then the city for many years. And I've basically been a fund manager for 25 years. The first 17 at HSBC Asset Management, and the last 7 sort of fighting around doing bits and bobs. But it's all ended up in my own firm, ByteTree, which is research, data and asset management. We talk about gold quite a bit. We talk about all sorts of normal finance, but we're also pretty damn good at crypto. So that's been our sort of the fun side of our lives.
Yeah, I'd encourage you all to check out ByteTree, and it's a phenomenal set of data the guys produce, and you've got and follow them, because I'm sure I know Charlie's and the rest of the team there are really pushing things forward, and I'm sure they'll have developments in there and what they're offering the world in the next year or so to come. So watch ByteTree, watch Charlie Morris. I'm sure is a good call. Let me just see if we've got any questions. Can I see the Q&A here?
Can I take the one from Louis McCallum?
Yeah, go for it.
What is the best way to buy gold? Physical ETFs or through apps like you provide, or all of the above? I think all of the above, but obviously one's got to say Glint. But you know, the bottom line is that there are 2 ways to own gold. You know, one is where you sort of buy it in physical form and bury it in the garden, and the other is using some kind of technology or access. And you know, I think what Glint do is very good, and it's physically held and all that. And you've got some electronics to move it around, buy or sell it, have lunch. ETFs, you know, also similar sort of mechanism legally and that sort of thing. It's in the vault, it's real gold. They work if you have a stockbroking portfolio. Physical's great, but you know, you've got to hide it. And if you die and if you get to tell someone where it is, then that's it. And if you tell someone it is and you don't die, maybe they take it. So you know.
Yeah, and I think one of the important things when we set up Glint was to try and differentiate ourselves from a lot of the other solutions out there. You know, with Glint, there's no token, there's no share fund like in an ETF that sits between you and your ownership of your gold. So it's important for us that our customers have that direct legal ownership, because you know, when the music stops, if it's unallocated gold, it might have been lent out, it might not be there. And as I said, you might have bought a share in ETF, a mutual fund of sorts, which may have liquidity issues. With Glint, you own the actual metal. It's there in the vault as soon as you buy it. It can even be redeemed. So of course, with the extra technology we've brought to it, you can also send it to each other outside of the banking system, and also spend it. There's another question on here that says, any plan? Let me just say, where is that? Yeah, from Lyman or Limon. Good day. Any plans to add silver to the app or the platform? Well, no. And I'm philosophically really strong about this. A lot of you ask us to add silver to the platform, but philosophically, this is what we believe. We believe that gold is the ultimate form of money. It backed all currency. For instance, or it backed the US dollar until 1971 when we came off the gold standard. We should be getting lots of thumbs up for that dog, by the way. So in all seriousness, gold we feel is the ultimate form of money. Lots of other forms of metals were added into the monetary system to deal with the the problems about de minimis payments, small payments. We've had silver, we've had copper, but those things were included because gold was so valuable that it was very difficult to trade with very small amounts of gold. Of course, what Glint has done is we've solved that problem. We've decimalized it, the access to it, so you can buy or sell as little as 1 penny or 1 cent's worth. So from using Glint as a form of money, as a global currency, we don't need it. And Glint isn't a trading app. You know, you can go and trade. There's various trading apps out there. If you want to get access to, you know, the price of things, you can do that. What we're doing here, we have the opportunity, we have the capability to build a global gold-based alternative to the financial system, and that's what we're going to stick with. So I'm sorry if silver isn't going to be on our roadmap. You're not going to see that, certainly in the medium to short to medium term. What else? Oh yeah, quick. And this is about some. We're running a crowdfunding campaign. We just extended it for a few days because we got a bit of a surge of interest in the last few days. I think we're up to 3.3 million. Very, very pleased about that. And so for those of you who are from the Seeders platform or looking to invest in the Seeders platform, there's a question. When will the vault fees discounts for investors be applied? Well, we're introducing some technology, which I think the team are on with quite soon. Maybe Yak can talk about that a bit later. We'll be able to apply that quite soon, I'd say within the next couple of months, and we'll backdate it for you as well. And you'll be able to get the discount on the vault fees, the insurance fees, because gold, of course, is insured by Lloyd's of London. And you'll get that discount applied if you have invested through Seeders. So please do go and check out our campaign page on Seeders if you're interested in that. Will the session be posted? Maybe I'll have to. I'm not quite sure. I have to speak to our producer about that. Will there be a central banking digital currency? I presume that's what they mean by CBDC. It's not a derivative of any kind of marijuana drug or anything like that. CBDCs are central banking digital currencies. I'm personally, Charlie, terrified of them. I think they are what could be the biggest threat to civil liberties that civilization has had in a very long time. What are your views, Charlie?
Well, I think I share that, generally speaking, but probably go a bit further. What do we mean by central bank digital currency? We mean the pound or the dollar or the yen or whatever, put onto some kind of digital payment infrastructure, kind of blockchain type thing, or a Glint type thing. And the bottom line is it's you know, what Jason's saying is it's scary because it's traceable. But you know, it's also the same design. You could say the same thing about a stable coin, a US dollar stable coin used on crypto infrastructure is a way of having instant settlements without a bank. You know, you don't have to trace everyone. You don't have to use it as a snooping control device. You can just use it as a sort of fintech modern way of doing things. So yeah, that second part of my answer I'm strongly in favor of. I guess the first part is scary, but you know, do you really want the government doing it? Because they're not very good at tech. You really want the private sector to do it, and I think crypto is trying to do this, and we're having the battles with the regulators to find out what's going to take off and when. But the CBDC, you know, great for China, not so much for ByteTree.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I've met some of the technologists who are developing and strategizing these central banking digital currencies, and I've got absolutely no doubt that they're doing it with the best intentions. And of course, they talk about, you know, fast transactions, fast international transactions, cheaper transactions. But I'm kind of like, you've got to ask yourself, who's the ultimate benefactor of this? You know, there are already, as Charlie said, solutions being developed in the private sector. You know, people are worried about, you know, whether or not Facebook should be having a currency or whatever. But I'm like, look, guys, private sector, go out there, innovate, create things. I can always move from Facebook and I can move to Google. I don't have to use someone's platform. But when a central bank introduces a currency, the temptation for me further down the line will be just too great for people. And at what point in the future will somebody in power decide to use those programmable central banking digital currencies against their population? And, you know, I've said this before on forums. You know, my girlfriend said to me, "Oh, Jason, aren't you being a bit far-fetched?" And I was like, I've got to remind you that just recently, Canada blocked the bank accounts of demonstrators because they didn't like what they were doing. And of course, it wasn't that long ago that Edward Snowden was broke the news that the US security services had been, you know, spying on their own citizens and many of their allies around the world, even through webcams, etc. So, you know, really, do you really want, as Charlie said, the central banks running these for us? But yes, they are developing them, Charlie, aren't they? They are running pilots. They are developing the technology. It is coming, I'm sure.
I won't jump on that. By the way, the way I think about crypto is not so much we know where we're going or what the point of it is. It's a very exciting experiment that exchanges value over the internet, and it's going somewhere, and we're not quite sure. It's not just about the technology and the possibility. It's also about the regulator and the consumer, and where there's a need. But it's just a big, fast, worldwide experiment, and it's taking us in all sorts of interesting places where you get success and failure. Classic creative destruction.
Yeah, sure. And Joe has asked a very interesting question, and it's one I'm sure a lot of people are thinking about right now after the FTX disaster. They're starting to think about, if they can't trust a company that was backed by the biggest venture capital company in the world, then who can they trust? The question is, I've got the card, but I'm hesitant to put money in. That this might be a scam. Please convince me. Well, we're doing everything we can to make sure that Glint is the reliable choice. I've got my chief compliance officer over here, so I'm sure he's going to, maybe Mark, do you want to just pop on and sit next to me for a minute? Oh. This is Mark Follows. We're very lucky to have him on board. He's a very experienced hand when it comes to compliance. We've gone to the trouble of becoming regulated by the Bank of England's Financial Conduct Authority, and that means what, Mark? Do you want to explain that to the audience?
So if I just pick up on this from the starting point where you mentioned crypto and FTX, what's very interesting is the head of Binance recently sent out an email to all Binanceans, as they're called, and effectively he himself is championing a form of regulation, which if you read it and digest it, is very similar to some of the mechanisms that sit within regulatory structures here in the UK, things like CAS, client money and assets. And for us, we sit under a model called safeguarding. And safeguarding, it's not the Financial Services Compensation Scheme, because we're not a bank, which we're quite proud of. And safeguarding basically means that your money, when you deposit fiat currency into us, that converts into electronic money, and that has to be held away from our corporate funds in a tier 1 bank. It's held segregated, and that sits under the FCA regime. Now, the FCA, part of the ability for us to continue our license as an authorized electronic money institution, we have to demonstrate that we adhere to these safeguarding rules. So the trust is quite high in firms such as ourselves, which are regulated. Same when people talk about the trust in banks. The problem with crypto, of course, is doesn't matter how many billions venture capitalists and other firms put into these firms that grew exceedingly fast at quite a clip and looked like they had a lot of riches. They were under no regulatory obligation to keep reserves and to protect that client money. And that's a problem. Now they're saying they want to do it voluntarily. That has issues. It's going to lend itself to regulation eventually. I think that's the direction of travel. But yeah, here at Glint, we pride ourselves on two things. One, that gold is audited independently. It's held securely. It's allocated. It's physically and it's legally owned by you, the customer. We don't have ownership on it. And under the safeguarding regime, again, we have to have acknowledgement letters with the tier 1 banks that we keep your money in, where they acknowledge that they don't have any entitlement to that money, etc. So it's an expansive subject, but it's one we're proud of, and it's a message which is very common to the payment services and e-money sector, and it's one certainly the regulator is very hot on, which is they are very concerned about consumer detriment, and they are very concerned about the protection of client funds. So trust me, they absolutely are all over it. They sent Dear CEO letters out. They have sent several reviews in 2020 and onwards. It's an area of focus for them. We don't get away with anything. So
thank you, Matt.
It's a heavy area.
Cheers. And I think ultimately you've got to look right underneath our business model. So our business model, it means that when you put your money into Glint and you buy gold, for instance, that gold is not lent out. Whereas you talk about all the banks in the world, the fundamental premise is they take that money and they lend it out. This is in 2008 as the global financial crisis unraveled. This was my moment when I realized that a bank is not a risk-free deposit of funds. And they openly Say yes. In fact, that's what you've got to all realize what a bank is. When you put your money in the bank, it's lending it to people like Mark, to people like Charlie and myself, other people in the world. They're lending that money out. They don't have it anymore. They don't have the money. If everyone asked for the money, there wouldn't be enough money to go around. They lend out more than they have, for instance. So you've got to look at what the alternatives are. Bitcoin is one alternative, for instance. Gold is another. This is gold that you own. And so look fundamentally when it comes to risk about what you're buying. Of course, again, even within gold, there's allocated gold, which you buy with Glint. There's unallocated gold, which means it can be lent out there and it might not be there when the music stops. There's ETF gold, which you're owning a share in a fund that may or may not be backed by gold. Lots of different ways, but Glint is definitely our whole focus is on in delivering a more reliable form of money to the world. So thank you very much. There's so many questions. We could be here all night, and I've noticed the time is getting on. So maybe what we'll do is find a way to answer those questions afterwards. There's all kinds of interesting things. One of the things we're talking about is something about crypto. You've heard that Glint is going to be doing something with crypto. It's a crypto bridge. So we're not going to be allowing a crypto wallet within our system, but we will allow, for instance, Charlie to transfer to use his Bitcoins to be able to buy gold with this crypto bridge. We won't actually even take any custody of the Bitcoin, and we'll work with a partner. Glint ultimately will get US dollars. We'll use that to buy gold. But it's a great way for the two communities to be able to work together. You can move your crypto gains into Glint, into gold, outside of the banking system, and vice versa. So that's one of the exciting projects that we'll be talking about later. Okay, let us now bring on Yax. Thank you very much, Charlie. If you want to stay in the background in case later on we want to talk to you a bit later about anything. Yax, I'd like to introduce everybody to Yax. He's our product manager at Glint here. He's done a fantastic job over the last year. How long have you been with it? Nearly a year, is it, Yax?
I'm coming up to a year, yeah.
Yeah, he's been an absolute breath of fresh air into the company, and he's really brought a lot of fantastic energy into our product development, into our product roadmap. I'm going to bring up, I'm going to share my screen, I think, hopefully, if you just bear with me. We'll just quickly take you through a quick presentation. Are we running behind schedule, by the way, Mr. Producer Director? Okay, we're going to go through this quite quickly. Here we go. Glint roadmap, product roadmap and relaunch. So where do we even begin with this? Two things really. We got to a place with the app, it worked. We've got tens of thousands, if not now we have hundreds of thousands of users using it. But actually, as with a lot of tech companies, you end up with a thing called technical debt. Means that it's actually quite difficult to update and bring new features to, especially in a fast way. And we knew that we'd learned a lot from it. We learned a huge amount in terms of what the problems were. Our big challenge right at the beginning was that how do we actually create this product, because we couldn't use someone else's, we couldn't sit on the shoulders of someone else's system. So Revolut, Monzo, Starling, Curve, they all sat on top of GPS's system, Global Processing Services. It's a third-party payments platform. And they were able to do that and didn't have to rebuild all that, certainly in the beginning. We've had to build everything ourselves right from the ground up because no company in the world enabled gold as money. We're the first company in the world to do that in real time in electronic payments. So we had to do all that first. And then, of course, we're kind of coming to the user experience later on in the game, but absolutely determined, though, to make it the best it possibly can be. And so I was going to take you through this. And then Yax at some point as well is going to do a demonstration of the new app, or at least the alpha version of the new app as well. Yeah, great ideas never fade. That's kind of one of the bases that we do everything on. You can start to see some new branding coming through here as well. And the app design is based on the latest Apple and Android frameworks, really. You all know what we do. We're offering an alternative fiat currencies. I'm not going to go into that, but I'll just remind you, buying, spending, saving, sending allocated gold with the MasterCard. So the system currently, I mean, Yax, if I go through this, do you think I'm going to be stealing some of your thunder, or do you want to do the live demo?
I think you probably, yeah, I could probably give a live demo. I'm not going to go through the onboarding journey.
Okay, I'll tell you what. You start doing the live demo, and then later on, I'll whiz through this presentation and pick up anything that you've missed. So I'm going to stop sharing.
Okay. If you could hand me powers. Afternoon, everybody. Oh, I think I've got it. Cool. Let me know what you can you see my app?
Yeah, we can see that. Looks great.
Brilliant. Okay. So yeah, just following on from what Jason was saying, we've embarked on a journey to relaunch our app. One, to enable clearance of that technical debt. That's going to allow us to add more features and capabilities in the future quite rapidly and quite quickly. And the other is to improve the UX, the experience of the app, and kind of set ourselves on a new journey going forward. So some of you may have seen a UI like this before, multiple card draw. So stories, we write our own articles, informative information about the economy, gold, that's all accessible here on the bottom drawer. The main event where your wealth is stored and all your wallets is accessible in your balances drawer, which is this one here. And on your backboard, you can see your card. So the card holders, you can easily freeze or unfreeze your card. You can see the new branding there, new card, and that's a sneak peek for those who are going to be ordering cards in the near future. You can access your PIN. And right now, if you look at the top left here, my card is linked to GBP, but we want to spend gold. And that easily, quickly links my card to gold. So when I spend money, when I want to spend at the shops, I'll spend gold. One of the things we've done in the app is made it a lot easier to buy gold. We saw a lot of behavior of people topping up to then go and buy gold. We know that there is benefit in our in using the multiple wallets. Our FX fees are much lower than banks, so there's a lot of value in there. But a lot of people just want to buy gold quickly. So I'll just show you a quick journey to buy gold. You can buy with your bank card, you can buy with your wallet. This is one of the key ones that we've introduced. So I can buy $200 worth of gold. Bear with me. You'll have to live demo with our alpha. There we go. $200 worth of gold. There we go. And we get the updated quantity in 3 grams. I've got a live rate. Oh, didn't like that. Here I can continue my purchase. Oh, it seems I have a card error. You're going to have to excuse me. This is our alpha, it's in a testing environment, so live demo, very dangerous. But we've also made it very easy for customers to buy gold via bank transfer, copy and paste all your details across to your bank account if you want to set up a standing order, and buy direct gold. Selling, again, with the updated UI, we've made it easy for you to convert your gold into other currency. Very easy. Success. We've now sold some gold. And this really allows us to add more features in the app. I know there were some questions I saw on the Q&A about buying gold with crypto. With this new interface, with this new experience, it makes it a lot easier for us to do things like that. You can imagine a world where you come into this buying gold, and I might be giving the game away now, but you select your source, and rather than just having your card and the wallets you've got available, you've got an option to pay with Bitcoin, pay with Ether, pay with RXP. So there's multiple opportunities there. The gold graph has had a bit of a facelift. It's just as interactive, but I think it's a little easier to see where the price movements were, track the price over time, over the past week, year, 5 years. So it's been a major, major overhaul. And this is an alpha at the moment. So what does that mean? The alpha is an internal test. So I'm testing this now with my account. Staff will be testing this out with their accounts. We'll be ironing out key issues like making buy gold work all the time. But we are aiming to launch this alpha into a beta platform, which is allowing people outside of Glint, people on this call, to use the Glint app in its beta mode with your own accounts, give us feedback, help improve the platform, and help make it better and better as we move towards our goal to make Glint a kind of front of wallet product and make using gold a real tangible option for alternative finance.
So I think on that point, I think we've got a poll that we can bring up. No, so yes, a poll about who would like. You just have to answer, I think, yes or no, whether you want to be included in the Glint beta program to be the first to get access to this. So the poll's just come up now. If you could just, would you like to be part of the beta testing Glint discovery group? Yes, I'd like to learn more, or not right now. If you could please vote for that. I'm going to, of course, click yes. That would be great. Oh, I can't vote, apparently. But if you could do that now, that would be great. So whilst you're doing that, I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. And I just want to go through this presentation quickly. So forgive me if I've gone over a little bit, I go over a little bit of ground that Yax has gone through. We'll get through this pretty quick. So I think for investors in Glint, I think you might be interested in the conversion rates from registered to active. And we're going to look to increase that by making the purchasing of gold part of the onboarding experience. So a lot of people, once they get into the app, you know, they're not quite sure how to buy gold or whatever, and they lose interest, or the dog jumps up on them or whatever, and they're onto something else. The buying of gold is now part of that process. So really excited about that. Improving our conversion rates. You've already talked about the charts. And we've also got new spending limits to offer to our customers who have larger deposits on the platform. Glint is something that allows everyone an equal opportunity to prosper. So we're democratizing access to it. So of course you can still buy a penny or a cent's worth of gold, but of course some customers want to buy millions of pounds of dollars worth of gold. So for those people with bigger balances, we're increasing the transaction balance on the card. And of course, improving the send gold peer-to-peer from one person to another. So for those people who already have Glint accounts, you'll know that I can send gold to Yax and Charlie, you can send some gold to me, and I can send it to Andy and so on. As long as we've got Glint accounts, we can send gold peer-to-peer to each other outside of the banking system. But actually, one of the things we're looking to do is to enable gold to be sent to somebody who's not a Glint customer. You'll get a text from Jason saying, hey, I've just sent you a gram of gold. Happy birthday, happy bar mitzvah, happy Christmas, Chinese New Year, Kong Hoi Fat Choi, or happy Diwali, whatever the reason. You'll get that text and it'll say, click here to follow the app, download and register. Only takes 3 minutes. And we're hoping that'll create a bit of viral growth to our audience. And someone actually asked one of the questions, is the lack of advertising a strategy that Glint has? Actually, we do spend quite a lot of money on advertising. We actually are growing by about 10 to 15,000 new users per month right now. If you're not seeing ads, that means our team are doing a very good job, because I don't want to be showing an ad to somebody who already knows about Glint, or especially if they're already a customer. So we're certainly going out there and trying to raise as much awareness as possible. This will make the product inherently viral. How do we build confidence in the product? Well, of course, by making the actual interface native to the iOS and Android apps, improving the onboarding experience. Between 15 and 25% of our customers don't get onboarded automatically inside the app. They have to go through an additional KYC process. We're bringing that into the app. Might not be in the first version that comes out, but it certainly will be in 3.1. Making it more apparent that it's allocated gold. Someone asked the question, how can I be sure that the gold is there in the vault? Well, you're absolutely right to answer that. We have an independent audit that happens quarterly and the vault. We're moving that to monthly. And actually what we're going to do is we're going to start publishing the amount of gold that's on the platform. I'm really pleased to say that over the last few weeks, we've gone through $100 million worth of gold on the platform. And we're going to be plotting that real-time graph from our systems onto our website, maybe eventually in the app as well. And those reports that are done by an external auditor, they're going to be published on our website as well. So we'll have proof that that amount of gold is there. What else? Yeah, improved information on transactions. There's lots of ways we can increase what information we have, that giving you dark and light mode. Higher engagement. In the US, we've had Google Pay, Samsung Pay, and Apple Pay for quite a while now. We're bringing that to the UK very, very soon. In fact, I know, can we give a sneak answer? Yax, I know not Apple Pay, but Google and Samsung Pay. That's coming very soon, I believe. Is that right for the UK?
Yes, Google Pay, Samsung Pay is live. So go to your Google Pay, Samsung Pay wallets, link your cards. That's good to go. Please go and use it. It's brilliant.
And Apple's going to be coming soon, hopefully. Thanks a lot, Yax. We just haven't made the announcement, by the way, of this. That's going to come any day now. We've already seen the dynamic charts, the daily news, the notifications. Someone's asked about limit orders. Yes, it's in our roadmap. I don't think it's going to be in 3.0, but it will be in 3.2, I think. So that's coming soon, along with things like price alerts. We're going to be building more revenue into the product. Someone asked us about the prices within our Glint system. We have very, very cheap pricing. Often up to 6 times cheaper than the banks. If you're buying physical gold, sovereigns and coins, it can be really big premiums, up to 3 or 4 or 5%. With Glint, you're only paying 0.5% when you buy gold, only 0.5% when you sell it. And what many of you don't even realize is when you spend on your card, we're not charging you anything. So if you buy gold on the app, that costs you 0.5%. But if you spend it, it's a form of selling. We charge you nothing. So the round trip is only 0.5%. I don't know anywhere in the world that allows you to do that round trip with gold at that price. So think about it. Use your card rather than just selling it and then taking it out and spending it. It's a much more efficient way of doing it. We're using the power, the scalability of technology to be able to bring that pricing to you. For us to be able to deal with, at the moment, nearly 200,000 customers, but actually, ultimately, millions and millions of customers. We're going to be adding tiered subscriptions, this ability for you to get additional benefits in the platform. Yes, you'll have to pay a monthly fee for that. But of course, what we get as a company is additional revenues. Revenues that are very important for us to be able to keep on bringing this product to you, making it better and better effectively. This is a mission for us. It's a movement. It's more than anything. We need the support to be able to do that. So these revenues are very important. The buying gold with crypto will generate some revenues for us. The ability to allow you to do monthly scheduled gold buys, effectively your own personal gold standard, gold accumulation plan, that will by default, by you buying more gold, allow us to generate more revenue. And of course, pension wrappers, the ability to, for those in the US, I think you call them IRAs. Here we call them self-investing investment plans, PIPs, getting mixed up with my acronyms. But these are all features which will generate more activity on the app, a little bit more revenue for the customers. Yeah, so we're running a little bit out of time, I'm being told, so we have to be very quick. Europe's taking a lot longer than we thought. We were going to be working with a third party. We pivoted. We decided to become regulated ourselves. That comes with its own challenges in terms of getting things ready. I don't think it's going to be ready by the end of this year, unfortunately. We've got a bit more work to do with the European regulator, but very, very keen to get that live as soon as possible. But other things we can get ready for the app that will help us build more organic growth. And fundamentally, the app at the moment is what we would call a back of wallet app. You can't use it as a true banking alternative at the moment. Most of our customers are buying and spending occasionally. There are people like me that are completely on their own personal gold standard, but that's where it is, because a lot of the features we need to make it a front of wallet app aren't there. So we're looking at bringing in, outward bound payments to third-party bank accounts, as they call it in the USA, PRN or routing codes, or IBAN numbers, as we call them in the UK and Europe, so people can have their salaries paid in, make direct debits possible, or auto pay, as they call it in the US, have your make your payments, your utility bill. So eventually, over the next 2 years, Glint will become a viable gold-based alternative to a banking system in every way. You will have that as your primary gold-based banking alternative. Our gold portal for wealth managers. So this allows for the first time wealth managers to be able to buy allocated gold for their customers rather than using ETFs. And it, for the first time ever, allows their customers to have unprecedented liquidity for their portfolio. We've already just launched it last month. We've already got our first wealth manager who's onboarding at the moment. We have 3 others, I think, in the pipeline. It's a really exciting opportunity for Glint. So what else can I say? I think it's that's enough really of that. And I'll stop the share. So what have I missed, or what do we have to do yet? Oh yeah, so out of all the things we've just shown you, I want to do another poll. And this poll is, what are the 3 features or projects that you would like to see in the app more than anything else? This is really important. We get this feedback off you. It'll take you just a second to decide. Hopefully you've been thinking about it as we've been talking. Buy gold with crypto. Is that important to you? Our research tells us that 30% of you already hold cryptocurrencies. Apple Pay. It's a big project. We're halfway through it. Should we carry on prioritizing it and getting that live? By the way, it's already live in the US. We're talking about the UK here. A premium tier account with the metal card. You saw a flash of a solid metal card there. How important do you think that is for Glint? Maybe not for you. What about the business as a whole? You think about the success of Glint. It's important. Recurring monthly gold buys, a gold accumulation plan. Is that a feature that's really great for you? Glint for business. A lot of you might run businesses. You know, even if you don't run a business, do you think that might be a good idea for Glint to implement a portal and an interface for businesses to be able to have a Glint account effectively, diversify some of their working capital into gold and be able to make payments and be able to issue cards to their employees? What about gold and currency price alerts? Is that important to you? Instant withdrawals. We know a lot of people complain about the time it takes to get money out of the Glint app. It's to do with the processes we've got in place. It's not because we like to sit on your money. We can speed that up. We can work on technology to do that. What about virtual cards? Is it important for you to have a card? Are you happy just to have a virtual one? Effectively one that just you can add into Samsung Pay, Apple Pay, and Google Pay without actually having the plastic. Capital gains tax reports. We've got one we've been working on for quite a while in conjunction with KPMG. You already get, by the way, you can download spreadsheets from the app under one of the sections at the bottom there. You can download a PDF statement, you can download a spreadsheet, so you can work out your capital gain or give that to your taxman. But would you like a capital gains tax report that you can just give to the taxman and created from your data in conjunction with KPMG? Something we're working on. Would you like to view other account balances from other banks, from other bank apps that you might have? Open banking is what the industry calls it. Please, could you just kind of answer? Only 3. I only want 3. I don't any more. I'm sure some of you want them all, but we can't do them all, unfortunately. So we've got a little bit of time left, maybe. Lots and lots of questions. I wish we had time to answer them. This is really great learning for us, by the way. Our first seminar, our first webinar here. Let's have a look. Oh, we got some new ideas. We've got some new ideas. Add a virtual one-time use card. So we'll look through these chats. If you've got any other ideas on the list, please do add them if you think they're important. Not just if they're just frivolous add-ons, but if you think they're important, put them in the chat. We've got a recording of all of this. We can see it all. Why would you allocate investment to crypto onboarding when the overall crypto market has tanked? Well, it's still a huge market. It's a trillions of dollars size market. I mean, that's a huge, huge market. And a lot of people still own cryptocurrencies. I don't believe it's over for 1 second. I think, the credibility is being damaged. I think there's a lot of calls for the kind of regulation that Glint has to be rolled out. So I think, but I think eventually, I do believe in cryptocurrencies, but not for the same reasons that we believe in gold. I don't think for 1 second that Bitcoin is gold 2.0, for instance. But why would we want to? Well, we want to give people choice. We want to give people the flexibility to be able to move from one currency to another, whatever they choose, whatever they have, whether that's dollars, euros, pounds, or cryptocurrencies. What else do we got here? Do we pay tax on the money spent on our app with the government? Well, it depends where you are. And it depends on what tax jurisdiction you're in. It depends on your personal circumstances. So we can't comment on that, I'm afraid. When is your card available in Canada? I wish it could be in Canada. I really do. I really do. One of our biggest markets is the US. And of course, you're all part of North America. And we're working on it, trust me, but we're a small team. We're only 42 people in the whole company. We have 12 engineers. Monzo, I think, have 600 or something, put it in perspective. So, we are raising more and more money. We intend on raising at a much higher valuation next year. Our metrics show that we can do that. We're already integrated with Canada technically. So it's definitely on our roadmap for something place we want to be. Exit plan for investors. Again, a lot of you here from looking to invest on Seeders. By the way, if you're interested in investing in Seeders, let me see if I can type something into the computer here. But it's seeders.com/Glint, GLINT, number one, not ONE. So it's seeders.com/Glint, number one, Glint one. I'll type that in here now. Where you can invest as little as, I think, £10 or something like that. So again, we're trying to democratize access to our shares as well as to gold. I'll type that in there. And it closes, by the way, we've extended it 5 days. It closes on Sunday at 11:59 at night. So, but the question was, what might be our exit strategy? Well, I think there's all kinds of opportunities for liquidity when you're building a fast-growing business like Glint. In our next round, for instance, we're expecting it to be a much bigger round at a much higher valuation. Investors, the types of investors, institutional investors who want access to that, may very well want more shares than we are willing to issue. In that case, what we call secondary shares will become available. That means any shareholders now might be able to sell their shares to those new investors coming in. Of course, the other opportunity is an IPO. Every time I go to New York at the moment, I tend to get bombarded by investment banks asking us suggesting we go live on the NASDAQ right now. I don't believe it's the right time for Glint at the moment, but watch this space. It's something that definitely having a look at. So there's all kinds of opportunities, I think, for liquidity. And in fact, on Seeders, there is actually a secondary market that opens now and again. You can sell some of your shares to other parts of the Seeders community that can do that. So you get effectively like a mini stock market. I'm sure there were some compliance messages I was supposed to have when I said something like that, but go and check it out. Go and look at all of the information on seeders.com, see how it works. Don't just take my word for it. Okay, I think we're running out of time now. We've got about 2 minutes, I'm being told. Are there any more questions for anything? Oh, Glint swag. People want to buy things like this with the Glint logo on and the Glint caps. Pretty cool logo, I'm told, a lot of the time. I think we're very lucky to have come up with that and it works very well. I think there will be sometime in the next few months opportunity to buy some of that, maybe with some interesting slogans like gold is money and nothing else, or something like that. We'll have our creative team looking at that. Yeah, I mean, someone's put here, one of our competitors rewards customers with a percentage of money back from the pool of fees. We're trying to make our fees as cheap as possible for you. If we're taking money out of those fees just to give it back, it seems like a weird kind of, sounds like a weird kind of return. We take money off you, we give it back to you. It kind of doesn't make sense to me. People, if you hear the word yield out there, it might mean they're lending your money out. At the end of the day, we're trying to keep things really simple. And so, no, we won't be doing that. Okay. Charlie, do you want to come back on? Yax, do you want to come back on? Is Charlie gone? Maybe his dog's taking up all his attention at the moment. But I just want to say thank you very much. At the end of the day, you guys out there are what make Glint so wonderful. Okay, you are the ones. Without you, this wouldn't exist. I actually wish I didn't have to build Glint, because the reason is because I think the banking system and the whole fiat currency system is coming to an end. I think it doesn't look good for my children or their grandchildren, and so we're building Glint as the word suggests. It's light at the end of the tunnel, as an opportunity for you guys to be on your own personal gold standard, to give you some security and reliability in your life. So it is a mission. We believe in it all here at Glint very strongly. We have a massive vision for the business. We want to build this out to be a global business. We're already live in the UK and the USA. We already have clients in Europe. We like to be active back there in the new year. So please download the app. See for yourself if you haven't used it already. Get involved in the beta program that we've got. start talking to your friends about it, because it's important that we spread the word about this. And if you want to own part of the future of money, then please go to cedars.com/glint1 there. There's a link in the chat box now. If you look in the chat, you can see that. But thank you very, very much for taking your valuable time to come and join us and participate in this webinar. And we will be bringing more to you. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Pleasure.
Thank you. And if you like what you've seen and heard, click the like button below. And if you want to be alerted to new Glint videos as we do them, new webinars, then please hit the subscribe button now.